Ladies and gentlemen, we've just pulled this out of the oven. This is a green bean casserole. It's not made with the canned ingredients. No, everything's fresh and the flavor is fresh right along with it. Give this a try. You're going to enjoy it a lot. Howdy folks, welcome to Texas Cooking Today. This is a Texas Cooking Today cooking tutorial. And folks, we're about to get in the kitchen and get busy cooking up this wonderful recipe. So let's head that way. We're in for some good treats right now. Today I'm going to be making a green bean casserole. This is not your typical green bean casserole. We're not going to open up a can of cream of chicken soup and a can of cream of mushroom soup and a can of green beans and a can of French fried onions. No. Yuck. Okay? This is not going to be a canned food thing. Those recipes are out there, guys. They've been out there for decades and they've just been done to death. And they're really boring, okay? So I wanted something that had a very similar flavor or very close to identical flavor if possible, but done fresh. So you have those fresh flavors. Something that really popped. Some years back, I invented this particular recipe, which is my version of green bean casserole. Uses lots of fresh ingredients. It is flat delicious. And when you try it, you'll see what I mean by it's definitely a game changer. This is the winner when it comes to great green bean casseroles. Folks, let's get over here and look at these fantastic ingredients. I'm going to show you how to make the best green bean casserole that you're ever going to eat. Come on. Now folks, there are a lot of goodies that we have here, and this is the way you make green bean casserole fresh. The one item here that's kind of not normally in the mix on your regular green bean casserole is this, your leek. Everything else is actually, for the most part, you're going to find that in most green bean casseroles. The leek, a wonderful idea along with this grana padano cheese to give it richness of flavor, a more full-bodied effect, and a dish that is far, far more inviting. Now, what we have going on here, all of our stuff, I've got some olive oil and some chicken stock and heavy cream back there. This is whipping cream. Our vegetables, we have a leek, mushrooms, onion, green beans, of course, and our seasonings, we're using just salt and black pepper, guys. Also, for seasoning, some grana padano cheese. If you don't have the grana padano, you can use something like Parmesan or Romano or Asiago. Any of the dried grana cheeses, those Italian cheeses, work very, very well with this. Also, we have some flour and butter. The flour over here is going to be used with some pepper and salt for dusting our French fried onions, and you're going to learn how to do that in this one, along with prepping a leek. There's a lot of good lessons here, and it comes out to one of the most delicious tasting green bean casseroles you'll ever put in your mouth. This is the one that's going to trump everyone else's if you take it to the party. Folks, it's green bean casserole. Let's get busy making it. Now folks, before we jump right into cooking a recipe like this, especially when you have this many ingredients, you want to do what's called garde-manger work. That's the French term for prep work, okay? It's the cold prep. That's the slicing the vegetables and the dicing and chopping and all of that. You get everything ready first. Once everything is sliced and washed and cut and diced and bowled up, everything is measured out and ready to go. Then, and only then, do we jump right into cooking. That way we don't concentrate on chopping something while something else could be burning. We can have our faculties with us to focus on the cooking because we're not busy chopping or dicing or doing other prep work like measuring. So this is the setup method. We do what's, again, the French would refer to as mise en place. That's everything in its place. Okay? Put it all in little bowls, get it prepped up. Let's do that right now. Move into prepping the veggies. When it comes to leeks, almost all of them that I've ever found had some dirt up inside of them. And that's because the way they come out of the ground, the leaves naturally catch the soil. It gets pulled down into the layers, and thus it has usually mud or dirt in it. Sometimes sand, depending on the type of soil it was grown in. So folks, when you're approaching your leek like this, I like to first take off the green part of it. Now, that doesn't mean that this is all unusable, especially the more tender parts on the inside. When they turn that light yellow, that's all very good edible leaf right there. But I remove that because on this particular dish, I just don't need it. As I open this up, there's little bits and crumbs of what I'm saying. There's mud down in here, there's dirt. Okay? So how do I get it out of the rest of this? Well, you're going to have to simply, about halfway down the white part, put your knife right into that and split it open lengthwise. And that way it just kind of fans open. From here, we can put it under running water and wash all of this mud out. And sure enough, look at that. See, there's mud in there. I've never seen one of these that didn't have at least a little. And this one's really clean compared to most. All right, so let's give this a good wash. Get some cold water going. We just want to wash each of those layers out. So you can see the leek holds itself together well. The inner part's usually not much of a problem. It's those outer layers where you're going to find the majority of your soil. All right? Isn't that easy? The rest of that leek is clean, folks, and he is ready to go. We need to go ahead and get this prepped up for our green bean casserole. First thing I want to do is just remove the root there. Now that I have it all washed up and clean, remember, keep those fingers turned under, and let's just make some very simple 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch wide slices. Let's go ahead and take care of getting our mushrooms cut up. Now, something you need to know about mushrooms, I've already dusted these clean. You just want to dust any soil that you see on them off. And that pretty much takes care of them. Now, don't be fooled. Sometimes you will get some of the material fall out of the gills onto other mushrooms that will look like soil. It's not. Now on these, I need to do just a very simple dice, okay? So what I'm going to do here is start by slicing. There we go. Now, to do a simple dice on these, don't overwork it, folks. It's a casserole. It doesn't have to be pretty. All right? The pieces don't have to be perfect and they don't have to be tiny. All right? Right there is just the way I want mine. Isn't that nice? We need to get our green beans ready to go. Now, you can do this any number of ways. If you want to leave your green beans whole, you can. If you've got the frozen ones, you can get Frenched green beans, cut green beans. Guys, make it yours, okay? There's a lot of options on how you do this. I want to divide this into a couple of different batches because I want to kind of get a uniform result here. And I'm going to slice mine, and I'm looking, you know, you normally see green bean slices around 1.5 inches long, and I guess that's okay, I don't mind. But I just want something that's more in the bite size range. So that's what I'm going to try to produce here. Fresh green beans here. They're a little bruised here and there like that one. It's not a big deal. It's going to cook up just fine. It'll have just as good a flavor. Don't worry about little things like that, guys. All right, green beans are cut. Folks, when it comes time for us to make French fried onions, we need to slice those things thin. So we're going to be using one of two items, either a knife or a mandolin. I'm going to say this, the mandolin is the most dangerous of kitchen implements, and I avoid this at all costs. I recommend anybody else avoid these unless you've got a lot of practice. You're going to hurt yourself. If you don't use the guard with it, then you're going to end up slicing yourself. I've seen professionals injure themselves easily with these, and I recommend keeping them out of the hands of children altogether and avoiding them unless you absolutely have to have it. Now, if you're not capable of performing the knife technique I'll show, then this is a smart thing to use, but only if you use it with the provided puck. This is a little item that holds the food so that you can run it through there safely. All right, make sure you do it the proper way or you will be injured. We're going to get on with cutting our onion. First thing that we want to do, whenever you're going to process an onion, guys, you want to cut off that stem part first, and then we will cut off the root at the end. Now, the reason we don't cut the root first, when an onion releases its liquids, it will release them a lot faster from this end, where it will release them slowly from this end. So we cut off this end first, and it gives us something to work off of when we do our cross cuts or things like that. And that makes the onion a little easier to handle. Plus, we use that root to hold the rest of it intact while we're working on it. It makes life a little easier. Now, when handling your knife, remember, pinch the blade because you want ultimate control. If you don't do this one thing, guys, with your thumb and first finger, the knife, when you're holding it like this, can have a tendency to roll in your hand this way, or even worse this way, and of course then it's facing your fingers, and you don't want that. If you're pinching that blade won't roll on you, okay? It's not going to turn. So do that and choke up on that grip a little bit and give yourself a little better control. Now we're going to cut this onion by chopping it, and I'm going to be doing a slivering is what I'm going to be doing. But the first thing I need to do, we're going to remove that stem end, and then I'm going to split this little guy from the root straight down, just like that. So easy way to get it ready to sliver. This is also the way we start an onion if we're going to dice it or slice it or do whatever we're going to do to it. This is the beginning cut, all right? And you'll notice there's not a lot of juice, just a little bit. Now from here, we're going to make a motion like this. Now when you're first learning to do this, using a slow cut like this is probably the way you want to go, all right? And you want to very, very slowly creep these fingers back. You're keeping the fingertips turned under so that knife edge can't touch them, okay? And you're using the side of the knife here against the center part of your finger here, that middle joint. And that gives you that smooth cut. So let's go right at it. All right. There we have our slivered onion, easy to turn into a French fried onion at this point. We have our onions ready to go here. The first thing I need to do though is to prepare my flour. So I'm going to take that black pepper, we're just going to put it right in there. Same thing with my salt. There we go. I want to use a whisk, combine them. Now that I have my flour ready to go, I can take my onions and breaking them apart, just dust them. And that means drop them in there and shake this a little bit. That's all it takes. These, when they come out, are ready to go right down in the oil. Now I'm going to go ahead and dust a lot of onion. I have my oil heating, and I want to bring it up in temperature to about 325, 350, somewhere in there. These cook very quickly, all right? And please do not be afraid of doing this. You will get wonderful results. It's quite easy. It doesn't require a deep fryer, as you see how you've got a pot on the stove. That's all it takes. And even if you don't have a thermometer, if you allow that oil to heat well, it will come out fine, guys. Trust me. The temperature's coming on up, and as soon as that hits about 325, I'm going to put my onions down in there. We're going to flash fry them. Then I'll pull them back out and put them on that rack that's right behind there. All right, our temperature is at 325. I'm going to take these and just gently, I'm going to shake them off and drop them right down in there. If you get a little flour in the bottom of that pot, guys, hey, don't lose any sleep over it, okay? Won't hurt a thing. have some tongs handy. As soon as these turn golden, and it doesn't take but just a couple of minutes, then take them out and set them on the pan behind, and we'll fry the rest. That's all there is to it. These are going to taste so similar to what you pull out of that little can, you will be surprised. So, folks, this is the right way. Give it a try. That beautiful golden color they have. And the thing of it is you don't want to overcook these, because they're going to be cooked again on a lot of casseroles. You know, that's where we use these a lot. And in this case, I'm using it on a green bean casserole, so I don't want my French fried onions overcooked. Now guys, I need to cook my vegetables. So I'm going to take my saute pans. I've got 2 large ones here. I'm going to heat them both up. As soon as these get nice and hot, I'm going to hit them with a little olive oil. On one pan, I'm going to start the mushrooms, and that's going to be the smaller pan. On the larger pan, I'm going to start the green beans. Now, these are going to sweat down a lot, and they're going to take in a lot of olive oil. So be prepared to use some extra olive oil for your mushrooms. And then we will add the leeks. Once the mushrooms are up and cooking good, put those leeks in there and sweat them down just a little bit. The whole idea here is, in one pan we're cooking the mushrooms and leeks and sweating them. In another, well, not really sweating, but just gently sauteing them. In the other pan, we're going to actually be working on developing a little caramelization on our green beans. They need to be dry for this, and we need our pan really hot for this. So that's what I'm going for here. Now I want my burners on a medium high to high to test a pan to know whether it's going to be hot enough to do what they call searing. Okay, you need a very high temperature for that. And a neat test for this is to find out if the pan has reached what would be referred to as a temperature high enough to create the Latent frost effect. Now the Latent frost effect, it's named after a scientist. That's where when you put water on a hot enough surface, instead of the water immediately evaporating or sizzling off, it has a vapor barrier that forms between the water droplet and the pan itself. So the water doesn't immediately evaporate. It just kind of dances around in there. So as we can see, they sizzled off. Our pans are not hot enough to create that Latent frost effect yet. So I continue heating them until they're hot enough, and we'll get into cooking those vegetables. Okay folks, we have that temperature I was talking about. See how it's dancing in that pan? That's what I'm looking for. That's the exact temperature I need my pans at to give me good searing, okay? So whenever you're going to heat a pan up for that purpose, that's how you know. And here's a word of warning. Make sure there's no water in there, none, when you put oil in there. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a popping, sputtering little mess going on. So I'm going to be working 2 pans at once here. We'll start with these, my green beans. Just let them cook. Now, mushrooms are really thirsty, okay? Extra oil isn't going to hurt them, okay? If you're not used to tossing vegetables, the tongs work best. Okay? Now, these are up and sizzling nice, which means it's time for the leek. Everything is cooking up nicely. Yeah. You see, these pans are both the same temperature, but you have so much more moisture in this one over here that you don't get that searing effect. But we're getting good cooking. good melding of flavors. I'm kind of weeping down that leak just a little bit. Now as these are cooking, I need to get ready right over here the rest of my ingredients to pull this off, because in a little bit we're going to need our liquids, we're going to need the butter and the flour, we will also need our cheese. Okay, we're getting near the end. You see the kind of browning I have on these, and I have some wilting going on my leek. They have been cooking now for about 6, maybe 8 minutes total. So what I'm going to do here, get my butter down in here. I'm going to get that melted real good. Good. Now we have that melted butter. I'm going to add my flour. I'm going to work it in, create us a roux, and get it cooking. Now if your roux ends up a little thick and pasty like mine, not a problem. Toss in a little more oil. Will not hurt a thing. Now folks, my butter has been cooking for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this broth in here. We're going to keep that on its higher temperature. And you're going to see it getting thick in places, so just keep stirring it. You can do this with a spoon. You can do it with your tongs. You can do it with a spatula, with a turner like I'm doing now. All right. So we see it getting good and thick, and that's what we're looking for. Now goes the cream. See, this is slowly becoming decadent, isn't it? So what's happening here is some of that caramelization on the green beans is getting washed off. The flavors are getting imparted into the sauce. This is turning into a very healthy and delicious dish. Next, we'll start working in my cheese. That way, as this pan comes up in temperature, it melts that in. And as soon as I have a good melted condition on my cheese, that's when it's time to put in the other pan. And that'll be those other vegetables. We'll mix them in and then change them to a different container altogether. Go ahead and preheat your oven. You're going to want it at 350 degrees. Okay, you see I'm starting to break bubble here. Now, the mushrooms and leek join the rest. Okay, folks, now once you get it like this, go ahead, reduce that temperature to medium. There we go. I'm going to get all this stirred together real well. Allow the flavors to marry real well. Look at that. It's already looking beautiful, isn't it? And I promise you, this will take your green bean casserole to a new level. You'll never want the old one again. Well, I'm shutting down my burner now. You can see this is thickened up nicely. A lot of the moisture has cooked out, meaning the vegetables are standing up a little higher in that liquid. Okay, so remember there's going to be some more evaporation that's going to occur in the oven, but the primary cook is taken care of here, and the flavors have had a chance to develop and marry. Now you can of course use just a spoon if you want. Kind of take your time and get it spooned over into an oven-proof dish. You can also, if you want, because of the kind of pan I've cooked it in, I could go ahead and take this pan, simply drop it right into the oven, and go ahead and finish it off that way. One way of doing it, but You know, we want presentation at the table, so we do something beautiful like this. Now, I'm not going to bother with this spoon. I'm just going to move right on to using my spatula and pouring it right in there. And by the way, if you haven't tasted yours, please do so. You will be surprised at just how delicious a concoction you have just made. And you'll also be surprised at very many similarities in flavor between what you're used to and what you've just created. There we go. Now, something I'm going to suggest, if you're doing a little dish like this, in the event you may have some spots like I sloshed a little bit right there, you might want to clean it up just a little bit so that those spots don't burn when they're in the oven. Of course, that's all a part of, you know, presentation, right? All right, time it goes in the oven. All right, now that's down in the oven 10 minutes to start with. Then we put our topping on there. We're going to give it another 15 minutes. Kind of watch it closely. You don't want that onion to brown too much. A little dark brown's not bad, but if you burn it, it won't taste so good. Folks, that's all there is to it. Once it's out of the oven, we're going to enjoy it. All right, that has been 10 minutes. We get our onions on and back in the oven. There we go, folks, back in that oven. Another 15 minutes and it's finished. For all of our ingredients measurements, and there's quite a few here, what we used was 1.5 cups of chicken stock. That it was about a quarter of a cup, maybe a little over, of our olive oil. Just something to cook up those vegetables in. 1 cup of heavy cream, 1 medium leek, 8 ounces of mushrooms. Now I use the small creminis for this. You can use baby bellas or white button caps. They all work well for this. You can also increase your mushroom quantity up to 1 pound if you want. I prefer to keep it around 8 ounces, mostly because I'm allergic to mushrooms, and if I keep it low, I don't itch as bad. Now, so use as much on these as you want. They cook down real easy. A medium onion, 1 pound of green beans, 1 cup of grated grana padano cheese, 2 tablespoons of black pepper. For our roux, we used 1/4 cup of flour with 2 tablespoons of butter. And for dusting that onion, we used 1 cup of flour mixed with our 2 tablespoons of black pepper and some salt put in there as well, up to 1 tablespoon. Folks, that's it right there. Your ingredients for green bean casserole. Let's take a look at that beautiful casserole. There we go. Now, as that cools, it's going to fall a little bit. It'll calm down a bit, so don't worry about that too much. But folks, I'm telling you right now, the odor is absolutely stunning. And once you've tasted this, you know, I don't think you're ever going to go back to any other recipes on the same subject, okay? Enjoy dipping down into this. This is the best green bean casserole recipe that I've ever come up with, ladies and gentlemen. The flavors are just spot on. It's banging good and something you really need to try. Now, this is the way. Pardon my microphone. That's the way a good green bean casserole should taste. Guys, once you've tasted this, once you've had it prepared this way, you're never going to want the old way ever again, because this flavor is just popping good. Very similar, but much better in flavor, much richer, more full-bodied, fresh tasting, because you're using fresh ingredients. Thank you very much for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Please share this video. I need all the help I can get. This is a good one, and it deserves everyone trying it out. Please, if you haven't done so, visit my channel. There are, wow, hundreds of episodes of videos right there waiting to teach you all kinds of wonderful recipes. Thank you for watching, and have a good day, folks. Bye-bye. Well, there it was, folks. A wonderful recipe right here, and you caught all of the information that you need. Neat thing about these tutorials, they don't skip over anything, and at the end of them you don't wonder, how did he do that? Folks, thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking Today, for watching this episode. If you would, please check out my channel, please subscribe, and folks, please share this video and have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.